Hi, I'm Richard. I'm from Birmingham in the UK and I'm 22 years old.
Hi, I'm Peter.
And I'm David. Hello.
27.
Sanchi, 31.
My name's Ed, and I'm married to Katie, and I'm a maths teacher.
And I work with students.
So I particularly enjoyed the scenery around where the Great Wall is. And I studied engineering at university, and so seeing how they had built the wall over the mountains and through the mountains.
I really enjoyed Yunnan. I went to Dali and Lijiang. Those places are very beautiful. I think there's many different Minzu as well, like different ethnic minorities, and the villages that were very old that are still existing. They were very beautiful and very interesting, and you could just walk around the city for a whole day, and that was a very nice thing to do. It was very pleasant.
There were so many things which were impressive. I guess we didn't see much of the natural scenery. We did go to Huashan Mountain, which was incredible. But I think the most impressive thing about China is the cities, the people, you know, the culture, the food. It's just the scale of it. It's so colourful and so exciting. Such an exciting place.
We got to see quite a bit of the history of China as well, which was really nice. So obviously the Great Wall, which obviously everyone likes to visit, which is an incredible kind of incredible thing to see, and to just to be there and have a look at. It's incredible. And the Longmen Caves, seeing those massive statues of Buddha, and just kind of the workmanship that went into those, and just the history. And yeah, Huashan, the mountain, that was incredible. Obviously that's a natural thing, but incredible too. And just going to Xi'an as well with the terracotta warriors and all the history of that part of the country as well. Visiting a few of the museums, and yeah, really interesting. And
I'd definitely like to go back there, yeah, because I feel that 3 weeks is too small time to get to know much of China very well.
It's just scratching the surface, as they say.
Tiananmen Square was incredible. It was so much bigger than I expected it to be. And I think it it really showed that it was like, I suppose the seat of a lot of Chinese politics and culture was there, and that was I think what blew me away so much was just the amount of people that were there, and particularly like just so many Chinese tourists as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like all foreigners. So yeah, I think it was being in Beijing with all those people was the most impressive thing.
So many things. I guess probably is the cities, the people. We were amazingly well treated because we knew some people over there who looked after us brilliantly well. So that was fantastic. But the places they took us to, the cities, the vibrancy, the colours, the food, just the streets felt alive, and there was just so much going on. It was just a really exciting place to be.
So I think the thing that I found most impressive was just the way that everything is organised in the country. So everything from how the cities are built to deal with so many people, so all the lanes of traffic, through to even employing people to clean the underpasses that go under the roads. Just everything has been thought of in order to make things function well, and people know where they fit within the society, so people know how everything works. And I found that very impressive, just the mass organisation of people, so that the country, on the whole, runs in an incredibly efficient way.
I think for me the most impressive aspect is people's willingness to get along with each other. I think because there are so many people and you don't have so much private space, people are much more willing to help each other out and to share and just to be in the same space quite comfortably. That was quite impressive, I thought. An unforgettable experience was when my my friend, my classmate and I, we walked up Huangshan, and at the top, the hotel that we were staying in was so full. People were sleeping in the corridors, and so we went to a next door building that was falling down, and we stayed in a room where there was no doors and no windows, and I woke up at about 3 a.m. and there was cloud in the room because we were on top of the mountain, and that was quite amazing. And then we got up in the morning and the sunrise was very beautiful because we were at the top of this mountain, so that was quite unforgettable.
Particularly getting on the tube, on the underground trains, particularly at rush hour. But there was one time we got a train back from Luoyang, and it was a night train, and we had to sleep on the floor of the train. It was a K train. There was no seats, there was no beds, and so when we arrived in Beijing, we were exhausted, and we went down to the underground, and we tried to get on the train, and there was just no space. So we waited for the next train, no space. The next train, no space. So instead of trying to get on with our huge rucksacks, we walked to a park, Yiyuantan Park, I think it was, in the northwest, just near the train station, and we just slept. And so I guess the busyness, we found it difficult finding our way around on the public transport. The taxis didn't stop very often, so that was quite difficult, but it was all part of the fun.
It really is how nice it was to meet people. So like, as I said, we stayed with with Chinese students there in university accommodation, and I think, yeah, the best thing about it was getting to know those people for 3 weeks and getting to find out a bit of what their life is like.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that we all said, I think, when we came back was just how generous our Chinese friends had been to us in taking us to restaurants, introducing us to friends, and just the hospitality of them and their friends as well. That was incredible. Yeah, brilliant.
One of the main things, I think, which was a bit of an issue, was maybe the food. So our expectations maybe of what we'd have for like each different meal were like, yeah, pretty different from what we encountered. So like there was one time particularly that it was our first morning in Lanzhou, and we all went out for breakfast, and obviously in Lanzhou they're very famous for their spicy beef noodles, and in Britain you have spicy food, but you never have spicy food for breakfast. And like we spent ages walking around trying to find some breakfast, and we had to be somewhere, so we were a bit rushed for time. And we ended up going to this place and having these really spicy but really tasty beef noodles, but none of us really knew what was going on, and that was like,
I mean, to be honest, I quite like the food. There were a few things that kind of perhaps weren't our favourite things to eat, but generally they were kind of things to try in a meal, so it wasn't really a problem. We ate pretty well. I think a couple of the other guys struggled a bit more with the food. There was one guy who probably wasn't too keen on the spicy food, and another guy who preferred to more Western food, let's say.
Breakfast was a funny one because, you know, we're quite adventurous eaters, and I think most British people are quite adventurous. They want to try all sorts of different types of food, except in the morning when they've just got up and they want a bowl of Cocoa Pops or some toast, and you know, we were eating noodles and broccoli and
noodles in vinegar and like boiled eggs and fish and things. It was a bit strange, but just for us, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
So I speak some Chinese. Quite often there would be lots of Chinese words that I didn't know, and sometimes with the dialects and the more local people, they spoke in a way that I couldn't understand very well. So that sometimes was hard because they knew that I spoke Chinese, so they would try and speak Chinese with me, but it wasn't a Chinese that I understood. So they thought I would understand, and I didn't, and that was quite hard. Food, I really, particularly in places like Urumqi and Lanzhou, the food there is the best, one of the best in the world, and I really enjoyed that. Sometimes breakfast food was quite hard because it feels quite heavy, and I guess I'm not used to very heavy food in the morning, so that was probably quite hard. But a lot of the food I really liked, and I miss it now.
So I don't speak any Chinese at all, and so for me, I spent the whole time having to do all my speaking through a translator. So for me, there was a big language barrier. But food barriers, there were no food barriers. I loved the food, almost all of it. So that wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah, so there was a few days when our Chinese friends had to return to work, and we were left, I think, just 3 of us to find our way around. We had to get to Huaishan and back on our own. We had to get back to Beijing via Luoyang on our own. It was great fun, but we didn't speak much Chinese, and you know, in Luoyang particularly, the Chinese guys there didn't speak much English, so we were relying on our fairly
we
basic
got help,
Chinese.
didn't we, at the train station?
We did, yeah,
So,
yeah.
There was a girl who was a university student at the train station helped us, because we were struggling to explain what we wanted when we were there.
The funniest thing was we got on a bus at Huashan Mountain, and we didn't know where it was going, apart from that it was going to Xi'an, so we just got on this bus. He said, quick, get on the bus. We got on the bus, paid him 35 yuan or something, and then he dropped everybody off somewhere in Xi'an, and we had no idea where we were.
But
And
we saw a hospital and we thought, oh, there'll be taxis going there. So we walked to the hospital and got a taxi from there. Yeah, so I was thinking.
Yeah. It wasn't too difficult, it was good fun.
It's fine.
Yeah, a little bit. Me and my friend went out in Beijing one evening, and we went to go and have a drink somewhere, and that was really good fun actually, because we didn't quite know what we were doing, we didn't quite know where we were going, we got a bit lost, and people didn't really understand us. But we got along fine, and people were kind to us. That happened twice actually. We did that in Lanzhou and in Beijing, me and my friend Simon. I think, I don't know as much as we solved the problem as much as a lot of the Chinese people we met were really good to us.
Yeah.
And they were just tried to be understanding and tried to be as helpful as they could.
Yeah.
Which meant that we could get along and do what we needed to do.
Yeah, when I was a student in China, that's 2006 to 2007, I didn't. There was a lot of times when I was travelling on my own, and I think maybe one of the hardest things then was with the taxi driver who thought I could speak Chinese, so he would speak very quick local Chinese and I didn't understand. So that was one of the problems. But other than that, people were very helpful. Quite a lot of people stare at you because maybe they haven't seen a white person before. But that was more in the local areas. In Shanghai, Beijing, that doesn't happen. But yeah, I always felt safe. I never felt it was dangerous to be out on my own. I always felt very safe on my own in China.
So when we went to China in 2008, we spent quite a lot of time travelling around just by ourselves. We weren't the guests of any Chinese people at that time, so we spent time in Shanghai. We travelled from Shanghai to Nanjing. We travelled up from Nanjing to Beijing. We did all of that just by ourselves. We didn't have any hosts who were guiding us around, and we enjoyed that. We managed that. We managed that well just by ourselves.